Welcome to an online video in our courses Empirical Research Methodologies in IT and Digitalization. In this part 1 of 2 videos on the topic of research strategy, we will discuss your research question and suggest that you analyze and fine-tune it across 3 dimensions. In part 2, we will discuss how you can choose a research strategy based on your fine-tuning. We recommend that you watch our videos on the research cycle and on Oates et al.'s framework before you watch this video. Links are provided in the notes. In our earlier videos, we discussed how to arrive at research questions that can help us generate new knowledge to solve practical problems. Once the research question is chosen and formulated, we need to have a research strategy to answer the question. We emphasize that it is the research question that derives the strategy, because the strategy is there to answer the research question. It is therefore important that you have a good understanding of your research question. In this video, we will look at 3 properties of a research question that can help you decide which of the many strategies to choose from. But first, what is a research strategy? When we are doing empirical research to answer a research question, we need to generate empirical data. These data are always about some actors behaving in a certain way in a certain context. For instance, you might want to generate data about a group of programmers doing software testing in an agile team in your workplace. Or, to take another example related to an IT system, you might want to observe how a specific deep learning algorithm learns how to analyze X-ray images of human lung. In both examples, you are observing some actors, human or IT system, behaving in a certain way in a certain context. A research strategy is then your overall approach as researcher to answer a research question related to a specific combination of actors, behaviors, and context. Several strategies exist and each of them has its own strengths and limitations. It is therefore important to find the right strategy for your specific research question so you can maximize the validity of your results. To help you organize your thinking, we focus on the following 3 dimensions along which research questions and the strategies to answer them differ: generalizability across actors, precision of our measurements when observing a behavior, and the realism of the context in which data is generated. So, when you want to choose a strategy to answer your research question, you need to analyze your research question along each dimension. Generalizability. Do I need to generalize my conclusions from observing a small group of actors to a larger group? Precision. Do I need to measure precisely what is going on and have control over all the variables in the behavior I want to measure? Realism. How similar do I want the data generation context to be to the real-world context I'm trying to understand? Your answers to these questions will limit the number of strategies you can use. Let us look at an example. We have used this example in our earlier videos. Imagine your boss has asked you to acquire a generative AI tool for the programmers in the IT department of the insurance company where you work. After some initial discussion and investigation, your research question is now, how do our programmers use ChatGPT? Let us see how each of the GPR dimensions can affect this example research question. Regarding generalizability, the G, you need to consider 2 actors. One is our programmers. You need to ask questions like, is it important that we investigate our programmers? Could it be programmers in other companies and in other markets than insurance? Could it be programmers in general? The second actor is ChatGPT. Is there a reason you want to investigate ChatGPT in particular? Why not other similar tools such as Copilot? Or why not any generative AI tool? Your answer to these questions might have an impact on your research question, and you might want to reformulate it. The next dimension is P, precision. The behavior in question in this example is using ChatGPT. Do we know or care which kind of use, or does it matter? Should we be more precise, for instance, focusing on coding or testing or documenting? Some of these activities might require specific strategies to investigate in a research project. The last dimension is realism. In this case, you need to think about where you will generate the data you need to answer your question. Is it important that the data is generated in a realistic context? For instance, observing programmers using a tool to do software testing in a project? Or can we do the data generation in artificial contexts, such as in a laboratory? Or can we totally ignore the context and send out a questionnaire for the programmers to answer? The initial research question was not very specific about the 3 dimensions. It was a good research question to start with, but needed more specifics. Based on the emphasis you give to each of the dimensions, you will have to fine-tune your research question. To the right side of this figure, you can see 3 possible directions you might take in your research. Which one you choose depends on what interests you and what is important for your practical problem. The topmost version puts a high value on generalizability. Here you are interested in how programmers in general use generative AI in software testing. The second one puts maximum emphasis on realism. Here you have limited the actors to the programmers in your IT department, but have opened to several types of generative AI tools. You have also added the phrase daily practices, which emphasizes a realistic context. In the last example, you are showing interest in a very specific bug fixing session using ChatGPT. In this case, you are more interested in precision than in context or generalizability. In each case, the research question will be answerable using a specific type of research strategy. We will come back to these strategies in part 2. The research design framework we discussed in this video is taken from our course textbook, Researching Information Systems and Computing by Brioni Oates et al. The definition of strategy and its dimensions and the strategy circumplex are adopted from text by Joseph McGrath. This video is a part of our courses IT Theory 10 and DT 8.1.11. To learn more about these courses, go to the links provided by the QR codes in this slide. And don't forget to watch the second part of this lecture on research strategies.